I thought the creepy letter on my door was just a prank, until I skipped the meeting it demanded, and someone rang my doorbell at night while I was in the shower. A minute later, I heard footsteps inside my bedroom. That's when I realized the person writing those letters wasn't outside my house anymore. He was already inside it. This happened last fall, sometime in early October. It came completely out of nowhere. It was a normal Monday afternoon. I got off work, pulled into my driveway just after sunset, and noticed something hanging from my front door. I usually park in the garage, but I stopped in the driveway instead and walked up to see what it was. Taped to my door handle was an envelope. Right away, I knew it wasn't junk mail. My name was handwritten across the front in pen. Inside was a short letter, but what it said made my stomach drop. The writer said they were interested in me and wanted me to meet them at a specific location the next day at a certain time. Weirdly enough, it was one of my days off. That detail bothered me more than anything. The letter wasn't signed. No name, nothing. There was no way I was meeting a stranger. I tore it up and threw it away, telling myself it was probably some stupid prank. Still, the idea that someone knew my name and address and claimed they were interested in me stuck in my head all night. I went to bed around 11. The next day, I stayed inside almost the entire time. I don't even remember what I did. I made dinner late, around 8 or 9, and went upstairs to take a long shower before bed. That's when the doorbell rang. It was late, too late for anyone to be casually visiting. I pulled the curtain aside and listened, waiting for a second ring. Nothing came. I told myself whoever it was must have left and went back under the water, but my brain wouldn't let it go. Standing there, I started thinking about the letter, about the missed meeting. The timing felt wrong. My chest tightened, and the longer I stood there, the stronger the feeling grew that this wasn't coincidence. Then I heard it. A light thud. Not loud, just soft movement, somewhere right outside the shower curtain. I froze, shut off the water, slowly pulled the curtain back. The bathroom was empty. My heart was racing as I dried off and got dressed. The first thing I did was creep downstairs and check the front door. No one outside, but when I opened it, a folded slip of paper fell onto the floor. I scanned the street before picking it up. The neighborhood was silent, dark, still. Inside, I unfolded the note. Same handwriting. The writer was angry, furious that I hadn't shown up. The message read like they genuinely believed I'd promised to be there. At the bottom, they signed initials, DN. This wasn't a prank anymore. It felt personal, focused, obsessive. I paced my living room for half an hour, checking the windows over and over. Every creak of the house made my skin crawl. Eventually, I decided I'd go to the police in the morning. For now, I just needed sleep. I started upstairs. Halfway up the steps, I heard those same soft thuds again, from inside my bedroom. I rushed in. Nothing. The room was exactly how I left it. No open windows, no movement. I told myself I was spiraling and locked the door anyway. I checked the closet, under the bed, every corner. Then I remembered the balcony. I rarely used it and kept the blinds closed, so I almost forgot it existed. I walked over and parted the blinds just enough to reach the handle. The door was unlocked. I never leave it unlocked. Before I could process that, a figure shifted in the darkness outside. A man stepped out from the corner of the balcony. He was already staring at me. My brain didn't even try to understand it. My body just ran. I bolted from the room and heard the balcony door slide open behind me. I didn't look back. I sprinted out of the house and ran to my neighbor's door, pounding until they answered. Police arrived within 10 minutes. They searched everything. He was gone. Based on the timeline, officers believe he entered while I was in the shower. The sounds I heard were him moving between the bedroom and the balcony, hiding, which means while I paced my living room, terrified and alone, He was already inside my house, watching me. What disturbs me most is the glimpse I got of his face. He looked familiar. Not someone I knew. Just someone I'd probably passed somewhere before. A grocery store, a sidewalk, anywhere. And somehow that was enough for him to fixate on me. It's been almost a year. No more letters, no sounds, nothing. But I still check every lock twice. And sometimes, when the house is quiet, I get the feeling I'm being watched again. Next story. I almost became a missing person on a highway in the middle of nowhere. 4 days after it happened, I found a police report about someone who disappeared on the exact same road. And the description of the car matched perfectly. Same color, same behavior. The only difference is, I survived the encounter. And I don't think that was luck. I think he was practicing. This happened when I was driving from Los Angeles back to the East Coast. I'd gone out there for a wedding and ended up staying longer than planned. By the time I finally left, I only had 4 days to cross the entire country before my next shift at work. So I was pushing myself hard. It was around 1 a.m., and I was deep into one of those empty stretches of highway where the world feels turned off. No towns, no lights, no traffic except the occasional car that appeared out of nowhere and vanished just as fast. My eyes burned. My last coffee was hours old and useless. Every blink felt dangerous. That's when I noticed headlights behind me. They weren't bright like modern cars. Old headlights, yellowish, dim. The car was creeping up slowly, way slower than most drivers out there. It took forever to reach me. When it finally pulled into the passing lane, I expected it to speed by. Instead, it matched my speed. I glanced over. Old, dusty, dark red sedan. Window down. One man inside, and he was staring directly at me. Not glancing, not curious, not road rage, just locked onto me. His interior light was on, which made no sense at all at 1 a.m. on a highway, but it let me see his face clearly. Red eyes, slack expression, movement slow and off. He looked drunk, or worse. I slowed down. He slowed down. I slowed more. He matched me again. I dropped to an absurd speed for a highway, almost crawling, and only then did he keep going and pull ahead, disappearing into the dark. I told myself he was just a drunk creep and forced my focus back onto staying awake. 15 minutes later, I pulled into a tiny rest stop. Just bathrooms and a sad little coffee machine glowing under fluorescent lights. No other cars. Perfect. I grabbed a coffee and walked back outside, and my stomach dropped. That red car was pulling in. Same one, no question. There was nowhere he could have turned off without me seeing. He would have had to leave the highway completely and wait in the dark for me, which meant he'd been watching. I got into my car fast and checked my mirrors. He didn't park behind me. He pulled right up beside me. Again. I didn't want to look, but I did. He was already staring. Those same red eyes, same dead focus. Then he started yelling something through the window. I couldn't hear it, but he reached across his seat, opened his passenger door, and gestured for me to get in. Like we were friends, like this was normal. The smile on his face was wrong. Too wide, too calm. I started pulling away. The smile vanished instantly. His face went blank, and he followed. Back on the highway, he kept trying to line up beside me. Every time I sped up, he sped up. Every time I braked, he braked. At one point, I swear he tried to clip my bumper. I felt my car wobble. I wasn't being followed. I was being hunted. Then I saw one of those emergency U-turn cut-throughs in the median. No thinking, no hesitation. I slammed the wheel and shot across. Illegal, dangerous, desperate. I landed on the opposite side of the highway, going the wrong direction, floored it, and checked my mirrors. For a second, his brake lights flared. I thought he was coming after me, but he stopped, and then he just faded back into the darkness. I drove until my hands stopped shaking, found a gas station, sat there for an hour trying to convince myself it was just a drunk psycho. I reported him anyway. 4 days later, after I got home, curiosity got the better of me. I searched that stretch of highway. There was a disappearance reported the day before my drive. Someone pulled off the road. Their car was found abandoned in the grass. No signs of struggle, no body, no person. The only witness described a rusty red car circling them before they vanished. Exactly what happened to me. Same road, same behavior. I still think about that man sometimes, not because he scared me, but because I don't think I was his first attempt, and I'm terrified I wasn't his last. Next story. I thought the footprints in the snow were just some hiker passing through, until I woke up at 3 a.m. and heard someone walking slowly around my cabin. Not outside, inside, and when I stepped into the hallway, I realized whoever had been leaving those tracks for days had finally decided to come in. I stayed in a winter cabin in the northeast corner of Washington state last winter. It was designed for cold weather stays, tucked deep into the mountains where most cabins shut down once snow hit. That was the appeal. Isolation, quiet, nothing but forest and white scenery. The first night was peaceful. No snow yet, just cold air in the crackling fireplace. But when I woke up the next morning, the world outside had transformed. Snow was coming down heavy. The porch was buried, the trees looked painted white, and the whole place felt sealed off from the rest of the world. It kept snowing all day. I didn't mind. That was the reason I came. I spent the day by the fire, reading, watching the storm roll in, enjoying how quiet everything was. Around 9 p.m. I got tired and decided to turn in, but I remembered I'd left a bag in the car, so I threw on boots and a jacket and opened the door. The moment I stepped outside, I froze. The snow on the porch was disturbed. At first, I thought maybe an animal had wandered up, but when I stepped closer, I saw clear boot prints, deep impressions, fresh. Someone had walked up to the porch and walked away. I followed them with my eyes. They led off toward the woods, disappearing into the trees. I hadn't heard a knock. No car, no voices. Whoever it was had come right up to the cabin silently. I grabbed my bag from the car and went back inside, locking the door. I told myself it was probably nothing. Maybe another renter got lost, or someone from maintenance checking the property. I got into bed and eventually fell asleep. The next 2 days were quiet, but every time I checked the porch, there were new footprints, always the same pattern. Someone walking up, standing near the door, then leaving the way they came. They never knocked. They never tried the handle. They just came and left. By the 3rd day, curiosity got the better of me. I bundled up and walked into the woods in the direction the tracks always led. But once I got out there, everything looked the same. Snow in every direction. No trails, no roads, no signs anyone had any reason to be out there at all. And the snowfall had already started covering my own tracks. That's when I realized how easy it would be to get lost. I turned back. After that, the footprints stopped showing up. For the rest of the day, the porch stayed clean. I convinced myself whoever it was had moved on. Maybe they realized I noticed. That night felt calm again. The woods were quiet. Snow drifted softly. The fireplace cracked gently. I stayed up late, finally going to bed around midnight. I fell asleep fast. I don't know how long I'd been out, but when I woke up, the cabin was dark and silent, except for the wind outside. My clock said 3:02 a.m. Then I heard it. Crunch. A slow, deliberate step in the snow. Then another. Someone was walking outside the cabin, very slowly. If I hadn't seen those footprints for days, I might have brushed it off as wind or falling snow. But I knew exactly what I was hearing. I sat up in bed and listened. The steps stopped near the back of the cabin, close to the wall where the fireplace was. Minutes passed. Nothing else. I told myself they'd left. After a while, I got up and stepped into the hallway. It was pitch black. No lights out there, just darkness stretching toward the living room. My confidence from earlier in the week was gone. Every instinct was screaming that something was wrong. I moved slowly down the hall. Silence. Just as I reached the end and turned toward the front door, thump! A heavy impact behind me. I spun around. In the shadows of the hallway, I saw movement. A figure rushing forward. Fast. I didn't think. I ran. I grabbed my keys off the table and bolted out the front door barefoot into the snow. I sprinted to my car, hands shaking so badly I almost dropped the keys. The windshield was buried in snow. I couldn't see anything in front of me. I had no idea if he was chasing me. I threw the car into reverse, using the back window to guide me, and peeled down the driveway. I didn't stop until I hit the main road. It took over an hour for police to reach the cabin. By the time they got there, the snowfall had erased almost everything. But they found the point of entry. A window near the fireplace had been forced open. The officer's theory was simple. The man had been watching the cabin for days, walking up, studying the place, waiting for the right moment. That night he came inside and crept toward the wrong bedroom first. If he'd chosen mine, I would have woken up with him standing over me, and I wouldn't have had a hallway to run down. It still messes with me how close the timing was, a few seconds either way. And that story ends very differently. I never went back to that cabin, and I don't think I ever will.